Hey, all right, welcome back to the show. We are covering Justin Posey's Beyond the Map's Edge National Treasure Hunt. In case you watch this video, you just click my newest video and you're not following the playlist, I want to make sure you know what treasure hunt you're watching, because you don't want to get confused with the clues like I do sometimes in my head. So this is, again, Beyond the Map's Edge, written by Justin Posey. We're going to cover the story, The Peak Pursuit, which is the second story in a series of 6 that cover the Victoria Peak arc. I think it's one of the longest arcs in the book, but we'll debate that later. I think it's pretty important. So what else? This is going to be pre-recorded because I do want to show a couple pictures at the end. I'm going to show some of the stuff I was talking about in my last rough solve video, right, where I come up with this little crazy solution of plotting points and drawing lines, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. So here we go into the story, and then we're going to cover a little bit more of the poem, and then I'm just going to lead into the graphics that I want to show you guys. So let's get into it. The Peak Pursuit. So in the beginning, one of the first things that jumps out, and again, we're trying to observe this and read the stories with a more overall, big picture, far out view, as you can say. Not get in the detail of the words, not get too bogged down. Because again, we have to remember with everything that we do that the poem can be solved in a vacuum, that the book is supposed to lead you to clues that are in the book has clues. How do I want to phrase this? The book will lead you to the poem, right? So you'll see things in the book that'll help you understand words used in the poem, will help you understand concept used in the poem. The book will help you understand his mindset, his background, his history, where he comes from, and that he pours into the poem. If that makes any sense. All right, hopefully I'll try to clear it up later. So one of the first things that jumps out to me is he says the New Mexico sun at high noon, which if I'm gonna use a state that's going to be associated with fierce sun in the American Southeast, I would have used Arizona. It's my belief, and Google confirmed it 3 or 4 times, but you never know with AI these days, that Arizona overall is a hotter state than New Mexico. And if you want to go for hottest spots on the record, California is going to win that with Death Valley, right? But I can see why he would use New Mexico, because even though he's living in Tucson right now, both mom and dad live in Tucson at this point in the story, and he stays there the majority of the time, he does travel to New Mexico for his grandparents, right? Grandpa Posey, Grandma Posey, and he does travel to New Mexico for their family reunion sometimes up near the lake, right? So the majority of this arc, I don't think it takes place over one summer. I'll have to double check to see if it takes place at one point in time. But when he's talking about exploring the base and exploring the surroundings, he's living at his, he's staying at his grandpa's place. Again, and I'm not sure, I don't know if I can say that with 100% authority. I don't know if maybe there was a point in time that he did live with the grandpa. I'm not really that sure. It's my understanding that he just lived going back and forth between his parents' house in Tucson, to both his parents, right, because they're divorced. He talks about that early in the book, with occasional vacations elsewhere. So we're going to go ahead and move on, all right? I just thought that was interesting that, use the New Mexican sun at high noon as a marker, but then it does make sense if the story takes place in New Mexico, then he wouldn't use the Arizona sun, right? So maybe that's just a big nothing burger. And that's why we shouldn't dig too deep into the words. Overall themes. All right, so one of the first overall themes we get to is daydreaming. He talks about he's a daydreamer. Why is that important? Because I think when you do something like a treasure hunt, first, it takes a certain kind of person to run a treasure hunt. It takes a certain kind of person to participate in a treasure hunt. And most of you who are watching this are that type of person, because why else would you watch this video if you're not interested in treasure hunts? All right, but besides my mom watches my stuff, which, love you, Mom, appreciate it. Gotta give a shout out to the moms. All right, he's a daydreamer, right? He talks about it. The quote there is on page 50. More than once, my teachers had dragged my attention from subterranean daydreams back to the considerably less thrilling realms of long division and state capitals. Now, I did hear one interesting theme, that the long division line there is a quote, or not a quote, but is a hint to what kind of clue or what kind of cipher. Hint. Get ahead of myself. Really excited. Just need to calm down. Everybody calm down. I did hear a rumor that, or a theory that, him using the phrase long division there is a possible hint into what kind of mathematical calculations you need to figure out the cipher is, or where the cipher is at. I don't know. I just don't think we should be digging too deep into words there. And of course, I took up the first couple minutes of this video with a little bit of New Mexican Sun wordplay rabbit hole. But we're going to do our best to keep moving on, all right? So, again, I think that the important concept here is that he's a daydreamer. Just gives you more insight into the mind of the man, right? Moving on, it's important, speaking of childhood dreams, that they do not die out. Here's the thing about childhood dreams. Again, the theme of childhood dreams is appearing in this story. This is on page 52, direct quote. Here's the thing about childhood dreams. They don't die easily. They smolder like embers in a campfire waiting for the right gust of wind to bring them back to life. And sometimes they ignite in the most spectacular and spectacularly ill-advised fashion. And again, we don't want to read too much into the whole, it's a gust of wind that brings back the dream. And, you know, we're looking for a wind theme. You know, the whole, we don't want to do that. I want to do that, but I don't want to put that out there because I'm trying to do my best to look at big picture themes only that apply to the poem. Moving on, we can see, or actually going back a little bit, again, page 50, direct quote, I devoured every scrap of information about Victoria Peak I could find. So this gives you a little bit of an insight into how he attacks a problem, how he goes about, he consumes every bit of information that he could find, which I don't know if he actively encourages us to do that, but I haven't heard him say anything about you don't need to do that much research outside of the book to understand stuff. You know, he talks about the poem can be solved in a vacuum, but you could do a lot of research into what the words in the poem, the phrases used, how they're described. You could just go spend hours and hours and days and weeks researching. So the only thing I have to compare this to going on right now is the JCB hunt, which he says, I'm blanking on the exact quote, but he kind of says you don't need that much more than the book. Everything you need is kind of in the book. You don't really need to spend hours and hours deep diving obscure things, right? Doing, you know, who played this character in Back to the Future and what other movies were they in. Like, that's not how it goes. But there's no disclaimer like that in this, other than, you know, you can solve it. I keep saying this again and again, and I'm going to keep repeating it because I want it to sink in my brain. You can solve the poem in a vacuum, right? But we do know that the Netflix leads to the book, leads to the poem. Okay, moving on, getting bogged down here. Another big call out another big thing I want to call out is the legal aspect here. All right, we talk about page 51. Let's see, restricted military installation, very illegal. Here we go. The Victoria Peak treasure had become a labyrinth legal nightmare. Labyrinthine, that's the word. Had become a labyrinthine legal nightmare. Interesting word right there, but we're not getting bogged down in words as much as he wants us to by his use of flowery pose and descriptions, right? We're not going to get bogged down. I just want to call out that he seems to be well-versed in legal knowledge. Those of you who know him better than I do, who have talked and conversed with him during the Fen hunt, can talk about how much he researched into the legality of things. I think it's a smart thing to do, especially if you have a solve and you're about to spend a couple $100s on plane ticket and airfare, maybe even $1,000 or more. Hey, researching the legality of the spot you're looking at, make sure that it's all copacetic, make sure that, you know, it's able to be hid there. All right, so what big themes have we pulled from this chapter? Again, nothing small details, big themes. We can realize that this story takes place in New Mexico. So that's right off the bat 6 out of 48, or depending on which you include, 6 out of 52 stories will take place in New Mexico. So that's a big push there for, hey, there is a New Mexican presence in this book, right? What else? Big themes here. Childhood daydreams. You know, he's a person who doesn't let his dreams die. They just become embers, and then, you know, he waits for a gust of wind to bring them back to life. So I wouldn't discount any childhood whimsy or wonder, right? Wonder that plays into part of the solve or how you attack the poem. I think that, you know, there will be a little bit of wonder, a little bit of childhood stuff. Aspects of the poem will seem like a daydream. Moving on, and the last thing we want to do is consume all information. Again, I don't think it's bad. Like, I would kind of tune out other arguments in other treasure hunts where they go down crazy rabbit holes. This one, I don't know if you want to tune out anything. It's all information. It's all going to help you. Well, you could debate whether it's going to help you or not, but I think it's going to help you. All information about Justin will help you build a better mental picture of him and the way he thinks, and all information about the words in the poem, because there's not that many, right? The poem's not that long. So all information about any aspect of a way to solve or a way to define each line or stanza is going to help you figure out, all right, no, this is not something he would do, or, oh, I read the book and this reminds me of something in the book. I think that's going to be the way to do it. And the last thing is the legality. Definitely, I can't say this enough. Look into the spot. If you have a spot narrowed down, look into the legality of hiding stuff in that spot. And two, just keep in mind the legality of what you're doing overall. It's kind of like a froggy safety bit here. A little safety, the more you know. Please don't do anything illegal. If it even feels questionable or suspect, I do not think, look at Justin's actions up until this point. Look at everything he's done. I do not think he would even open himself up to any kind of accusation of foul play or illegality, or he's encouraging us to do something unsafe, right? That's why that one secret code that came out like a week or two ago, that it had something about go beyond the meek or something like that. I forgot the exact words, but it could be interpreted as he's encouraging you to do something dangerous, right? So immediately off my bat, I'm like, this is fake, and sure enough, it was proven to be fake, right? He's just not going to do that. All right, so that's enough about the Peak Pursuit. That's story 2 out of 6. We're going to move on to story 3 the next video, but I do want to cover just a little bit of the poem. And again, I had some great talk last night. I haven't been able to get on to the Discords and the voice chats as much as I would like the past few days, but I was on there last night for a little bit, had some great talk. And so again, this is the question that I urge everyone to think about as you're doing the solve. I guess it comes down to, and I'm okay with both camps. I want everybody to pursue whatever their gut says all the way to the end, and then I want you to share it so we can know how that played out or not, right? But I do want, someone's going to find this, right? And I can't wait to hear that person's story and everything. So, Beyond the Map's Edge, you have to decide for yourself, or I guess you don't have to, right? You don't have to listen to me. You can just keep doing what you're doing. I would recommend you decide for yourself, do you think this poem is a linear puzzle, right? And the way I look at it is as, I play a lot of games, not as much lately, but I used to be big into Xbox. I like, role-playing games. I like stuff like that. And some of the new fad for the last, 5-10 years, maybe longer, is open world games, right? Open world games where, you're a cowboy. Red Dead Redemption, right? You're a cowboy, drop down into some state, I forget, Arizona, New Mexico, whatever, and you've got kind of an overall theme, right? I'm blanking on how the game goes, but let's just say you have to go rescue this one person, right? That's your overall goal. But to do that, you might need to link up with another member of your gang, get some better equipment, and get a horse, right? And you don't have to do that in a particular order. You don't have to. The first thing you have to do is get a horse. I mean, it would kind of make sense, right? But you don't have to. The game lets you choose which one you want to do first to accomplish the overall goal. Older games, because of, I guess, memory and limitations, were very linear. If you played a Red Dead game in, the 80s, and it was like loaded on a floppy disk, and you put it into your Commodore computer or whatever, I don't know that much about computers, and you're playing, you'd have to do, all right, you have to do this first. So once you get the horse, then you got to get the other member of your gang. Then you got to go, now you got to get equipment, and then you can get the horse. Like, the game wouldn't let you get off the rails. It's very linear. It's a path. You have to walk down the path. On each side of the path are high walls, right? So then you have to decide for yourself. You don't have to. It's a free country. We live in America. I would recommend you decide for yourself, is this a linear puzzle? Do you have to find what lives in time first before you can walk near water's silent flight? Do you have to walk near the water's silent flight before you can return to the face of the bride? And last but not least, do you need to return to the face of the bride before you can find the double arcs on granite bold, right? Because and if you do, that's settled. Work your solve. Spend all your energy on that. Do that, right? And share with us, please, where you're getting on that. Or as the way and again, I used to be that way. That was the way I was like a week or two ago. Or do you think the poem is okay? I'm going to change my example a little bit, because right now I believe that the first stanza is kind of instructions. So, but if not, let's just say, do you believe that you can find what lives in time? All right, you can find what lives in time, or you can choose to walk near water silent flight. You can do that first if you want. Walk near water silent flight. Or, hey, find the bride first. Find the bride and return to her face. And after you find the bride and return to her face, hey, then walk near water silent flight. And after you do both of those, maybe that'll help you find what lives in time. All right? And I know Justin said it's consecutive, right? And here's how I would justify that and reason that out. Justify, Justin. Is that yes, you do need to do 1, 2, 3, and the poem does build on itself, because the way I'm looking at it is, can you find what lives in time will help you with everything else. Same with, if you walk near water's silent flight, around the bend past the hole, you find that spot. Finding that spot, the way you had to work and the words you had to use and the connections you had to make will help you with the next one. In Ursa East, his realm awaits. His bride, okay, hey, I remember this is what he meant by walk. This is what he meant by lives in time. So now I can find his bride. And after you do that, now you've done 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I can find where the secrets of the past hold, because I've done all that. So I still think it builds and it's consecutive, just because you're able to skip around, right? Because it's very tough to imagine a word puzzle, right? So a poem that Justin puts out and lets everybody work on it. So I don't understand how you wouldn't be able to just skip to line to finding Ursa East, right? Without 1 and 2. I mean, there has to be a way you can. I just don't understand how you couldn't. I mean, even if you get lucky or a little bit of luck, or if somebody's brain is going to work a certain way, or somebody's going to pick up on what Justin's putting down. I mean, this is a good question. I mean, this is an open-ended question. I'm going to be working on this myself. How could he construct a poem that it's impossible, no way to find Ursa East and find the bride without finding what lives in time and without walking near water silent flight? If there's a way you justify that by, there's no way you could find the bride without doing 1 and 2. Please share that, because I haven't come up with a way. And again, I'm not super genius. I'm not saying this what's the word, condescendingly or anything. I'm genuinely stumped. I haven't been able to figure it out. That's why, to me, it makes sense to have. We're building a puzzle. We're building a construct here. You can find your first point. You can find the second point. You can find the third point, and there may be more than 3 points. I'm using 3 right now. Maybe there's 4 or 5. I don't know. And everything that you've built, that'll help you. That'll lay a foundation. It might be a triangle. It might be you're looking for the missing line or the missing dot for a square. Maybe trying to make a square and you're missing the 4th one. It might be a pentagon. I don't know. But I mean, the way I have it is, we have a foot of 3. There's a lot of 3s in this. There's a lot of doubles. There's a lot of 2s in this. So you're building something, and you're really only mathematical instruction here is the 20 degree and returning to a face, right? So I think it makes sense to me. Something to do with an angle, or something to do with a degree, something drawing something on a map. I really like the idea of a vector. I think it's poetic, right? He signs off. His last clue to us, his last little wink, is this little signal right here. You've all seen it, right? That last little thing right there. And you have a line with an arrow on it, right? There's a lot of talk about what it is. I think most people, will say it's some kind of I forget the technical term with an A, but it's a play on a vector. It's a symbol that's leading you in a direction. So I like the idea that solving the majority of the first couple stanzas gets you an arrow, right? So you start here, and anywhere along that line is where you stop. That's how you get an exact spot, right? That's what this poem does. The poem gets you to an exact spot. What better way to get you to an exact spot than a line? That makes perfect sense. A vector, a line. Starting from one spot and going out. All you need now is to find where along the line is that last double arcs, right? So I'll continue to refining it. I'll keep sharing. I'll keep working on this. And who knows? I was dead set in New Mexico a month ago. You couldn't tell me nothing. Now could be in New Mexico, because the line starts somewhere in New Mexico, and then it just goes out. The line goes through from, let's see. You'll see it in a couple seconds. I'm gonna show it up on the screen. It starts in New Mexico, goes up, you know, I think crosses the tip of Arizona, goes through Utah, keeps going, Idaho, and I don't think it crosses into Washington. I mean, into Oregon, and then it goes out Washington, out into the ocean. So, in a couple seconds, you'll see it on the screen. I'll put it up there. But I think that's all I wanted to cover for today. Thank you for being patient. Allergies are a lot better today, so I'm not sniffling and congested. Let's see. I'll probably do a live tomorrow to get some engagement there. I'll have some more questions that I might need some help with, or you might have some questions that I can help with. Please reach out. It's tough to reach out on YouTube because there's not really YouTube isn't the best vehicle for a conversation back and forth. But I am on Instagram. I don't really post a lot right now. I'm just mainly focused on YouTube right now. But I'm on there and I check it. I try to check it once a day. So if you find me a message, Esteban Limon, you find me on there. Discord's the best. I'm on Discord a lot more than any other social media. So just because I want to keep up to date, there's a couple people on there I talk with regularly. So that's all I got. And the last thing is, once again, if you do live in the East Coast, if you live on one of these 5 states, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, if you live in one of those states and you want gold, hey, gold is going up right now. It's crazy. All right, what are we at? Almost 3,400 or something like that. You know, if you want a free 1 ounce of gold sitting out there in the woods waiting for someone to grab it. So take a look at Estes Quest 3. The videos are free. They're on YouTube. Look at that playlist. See if you like what I'm putting down. See if you're getting any hints or clues from those videos. And if you are, join the Estes Quest Discord, right? So again, there's been a little bit of, when I say Discord, and again, I'm not the most Discord savvy dude, but Discord is an app. It's a platform for people to discuss. And there's different servers on there. When I'm talking treasure hunting Discord, I'm talking on Discord servers run by Calazar and K-Pro, right, also known as Mike and Christy. They have one, and I'm also in another one run by Mysterious Writings, Jenny Kyle. I'm in both of those. Again, one has I think 6,000 members, one has 10,000 members. They're great avenues to bounce stuff back and forth. I recommend you join one of those if you're really serious into this national hunt. And then I also have my own treasure hunt, my own Discord. But I don't discuss the other hunts on there. It's just for my own little hunts, right? When there's one going on right now. So that's when I say there's a link in every single one of my Estes Quest 3 videos. There's a link to join it. It's $15 one time. You don't have to do it. You can play my hunts for free. You can win for free. You can claim the gold for free. All that's fine. If you just want an extra clue, I put out an extra photo every single day. That'll help you find and narrow down quicker. All right, so that's what that's all about. But I'll talk to you guys later. Maybe I'll see you guys tonight on a chat. All right, bye.